Again. I was live just a little bit ago, but had some family stuff I had to take care of. So we are going to try milling this cherry wood up again. Hopefully those of you who were with us before can come on back and see what we're actually doing. And those of you who didn't catch it before, hopefully you enjoy it. So I am taking some cherry wood that I have kiln dried in a little DIY kiln. Notice a lot of it is going to be cracked, and because I've got the pith of these various cherry branches, it's coming through, so I've got lots of cracking. Not too worried about that because I'm probably going to end up cutting these in smaller strips, and I'll just cut through those cracks. Right now, I'm just wanting to mill this up so that I've got a flat surface on the jointer, and then I'll take it to the planer down there on the ground, and then I'll take it to table saw over there. So we are starting the process here, and for those of you who are joining in, I'd love to have you participate in the chat if you feel comfortable. Don't feel comfortable, that's all right. You don't have to. But let us know where you're watching from. Let me know if you have any questions about what I'm doing. If you have any suggestions on how I can do things better. Yeah, throw those up in the chat, and we'll see what we can do about improving everything. So I'm just going to get my chat up and running here, and then we can get going again, and hopefully not have any hiccups like on our last deal. Hey, Mike. Glad to see you watching. And yeah, so we're just going to get started milling up this cherry. So here we go. We've got the shop vac recycling separator. I just emptied out the bucket, so hopefully it's got plenty of room now for all the shavings we're going to take off. So I'll turn on the vacuum, turn on the jointer, and then we'll get going. right, so that's probably good for this board. Don't really want to take too much out. There's a little bit of chip out there and a little bit of chipping in here, but overall not too bad. I tried flipping the direction as I was going through, and it was chipping out a lot worse. So went back to this this way, and I've got some nice usable board there. I like that grain pattern. All right. Oh, let's see. It looks like I need to catch up on the chat here. All right. Hey, Carrie, good to see you. Is that the cherry I put in the homemade kiln? It is indeed. So I am moving it from the kiln. It's now dry enough, and we are going to mill it up. Yeah, last breath. You like that that sound? I'm okay with the sound, especially since I've got some ear protection on. Not too bad for me. Let's see. Mike Woodchucker, good to see you. Pine and Oak, great to see you. Yeah, just be careful not to follow too closely behind Carrie. She might be getting a restraining order, Pine. All right, Bailey, good to see you. And all right, not take long. Yeah, the cherry. Really, it only took about 2.5 weeks to dry the cherry enough to start milling it up. So I'm pretty pleased with that, really. So this is going to be my next board that I'm milling up, and see if what gives you guys the best angle there. So I think I'm going to start in this direction and see how well that does on the chip out, and see if I need to switch to the other direction or not. So vacuum on and jointer on. Yeah, I think that might be the best board so far as avoiding chip out. There's just a tiny little bit here and here in that knot a little bit. Little tiny bit there, but yeah, way better than most of the other stuff that I've been working with. I think that might be in part because I was going so much slower that time than a lot of my prior attempts. So let's see. Let me catch up on the chat. Thanks, Pine and Oak. If I'm looking good, it must be because you can't see me on camera. And let's see. And like some people won some boxes from Bearded Viking. He makes some pretty beautiful stuff. Watched a couple of his videos earlier today. Got some ideas on some things that I want to do sometime. But okay. Robert, yeah, Pine and Oak got it. It's cherry wood. So I got this cherry wood from a friend who was, cutting up some, a cherry tree. And so a while back on a live video, I cut it up into 5/4 on the bandsaw. And then another live video recently, I made this, DIY kiln. The heat source in the kiln is a dehumidifier and a fan. And that kept it, right around my target temperature of 120 degrees. And it only took about 2.5 weeks at that temperature to get it down to where I can use it. So I'm mostly just wanting to finish milling up this stack tonight. I'm not sure if I'll get through it all, but I'm hoping. But here's our next board. And go. And I'll start going this direction, I think. All right, I think that's where I'll finish up on this one. Again, pretty good on the avoiding chip out. Just a couple little spots here and up there. Up here is not going to be that usable. Neither is right here. That's why I didn't keep jointing, because these edges here are likely going to get cut off because the board's a lot narrower on this side than it is on that side. So probably most of that's going to get cut off anyway. So I'll try to keep thickness instead of planing that or jointing that down more. So move on to the next. Let's see. Let me catch up on the chat. Looks like we've got a fair amount of all right. So there are some cracks. Yeah, there's definitely some cracks in the wood, Gary. I'm not that worried about the cracks because I'm thinking. Let me show you one that is more severely cracked. One that we did a little bit earlier. Yeah, so this guy. So this one's pretty cracked, right? And part of that is because we're dealing with the pith of the branches on these things. And maybe I was drying it a little too aggressively or something, and leading to the cracking. Well, no, it couldn't have been my fault. Never mind. Forget that part. But anyway, these got these pretty significant cracks. But I'm probably just gonna cut right there anyway, and then just try to use like 1.5 or 2-inch wide segments, or whatever I can get out of them, as I'm trying to make the shoe rack for my mom, which is the first project that I'm thinking to make with these cherry boards. I'm not sure what else. I'm not sure how much of the cherry wood I'll need to use for that. So I'm not sure how many other projects I'll be able to do, but certainly there will be a lot of small cherry wood left over that I can do some other stuff with. So here's our next board. Let's see if I've got any other chat I need to address. Oh, Last Breath going to make a freezer kiln. Cool. Yeah, it'd be it's certainly nice to use the wood in a lot less time. And speaking of the live video I did to build that kiln, for those of you who don't want to watch the full live video, I released an edited regular short, long form video. It's only like 5 or 6 minutes long, I think, and that's from I think I released it last Friday. So I think it's something about I can't wait that long. 1 year, can't wait that long. So and oh yeah, Pine and Oaks. Everyone, you like the video, man? Appreciate it. All right, you're on the phone. Just double tap. Yep. Should seal those ends before trying to reduce. Yeah. I thought to do that when I first got the boards, and then I was just lazy and didn't. And so then they were just sitting in the shop for a few weeks before I built the kiln. And I was thinking to paint the ends before putting them in the kiln, but someone who was on the live convinced me that it wouldn't be worth doing. And since that resulted in less work, the laziness in my mind, kind of took over. And so I didn't end up painting the ends at all. So that probably would have reduced the cracking and would have led to more uniform drying. But it'll work all right. And, oh yeah, it looks like Carrie's already explaining that. And let's see. Could it have made a difference? Yeah, I'd like to know. Any other ideas on that? And will milling make the crack travel more? I'm not too worried about that. Like I said, I'm going to be cutting on those anyway, so the crack always goes further than what you can see, but after it's dry, it shouldn't go much further. Yeah, CA glue. Okay. And okay, perfect. All right, so I'm all cut up. So let's get back to milling this guy up. Turn on the vacuum and get going. Whoa. Sorry about that. So I'm probably going to stop there on this one since so much of this board I'm probably going to be cutting off of the sides. So it's looking pretty good.
Mom says it's time for scriptures and prayer.
Okay.
Also, can I borrow a hammer? Because I got this from the thrift store the other day, but they left the tag on, and I want to try to get off.
Let's maybe try something other than a hammer for that.
But I mean, like not the bat part, but the crowbarish part.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's try maybe something other than a hammer for that.
How do I get it?
We'll talk about it in a little bit. All right. I'm going to take a quick break. I am being called for family prayer, and then I will be back in just a moment. So stay tuned, everybody. And I'm back. Well, not quite back. I'm on my way back anyway. All right. Let's see. Where are we at in the chat? I don't think I'm frozen. Woodchucker, I just had to go help with a little family prayer action and before our daughters get sent to bed. Let's see. Hey, my honey is handmade. Good to see you. Raja, good to see you. And let's see. Yeah, not frozen. I think my internet is fine, but let's see if yeah, my camera's indicating everything's fine, but I was just away from everything for a bit. All right, and yeah, last breath is right. A lot of these have pith because a lot of these boards were from relatively small branches, and so I didn't even make an effort to avoid the pith in these, and so you can see like on this next one, it's got the pith right here and right there, and so it's cracking quite a bit right there, and this one is pretty curved, so I'm probably not going to get all that much usable wood out of this anyway, at least not for a large project, but I might be able to do something smaller with it. So I'll still mill it up, but probably won't use this one for the shoe rack that I've been talking about. And yeah, last breath is right. We just had the intermission, so hopefully you were able to grab your snacks, and I'm gonna go and feed from that direction. And yeah, this is gonna be wonky, so we'll see how well this does. Yeah, this one's pretty wonky. I'm going to save it for later. It's just it's warped and whatever. So I'm taking off very little each pass. I'll worry about this one later since it's probably not going to be that useful for the shoe rack anyway. So move on to something that hopefully will provide some better benefit. So yeah, same issue. Make what you can from them. Often use them, fill them with epoxy to just fill the crack and add detail. Yeah, I might do that instead of just cutting them at the crack, because that's kind of what I was anticipating. Is just because I think I'll need to just kind of cut them into like, maybe 2-inch strips, 1.5-inch strips, something like that, and kind of piece them together, because not many of the boards are even long enough for the dimensions that we're looking for. So, I'll need to kind of piece it together. And I might, as I'm just kind of thinking about the design, I was thinking to have a design where it's, not completely filled in. So I might have a strip here and then a small strip next to it, but then an empty space, and then a strip next to that, an empty space, and kind of do it like that, with a pattern like that. But I'm not sold on that yet, but just considering that as a possibility. So, and here's another, cracking issue. And this crack, part of this crack goes all the way through. So again, we've got our pith there. So crack showing all the way through here, crack showing here, crack going all the way through there. And then at the top here, we've got some little bit of nastiness there to deal with. So yeah, this will be fun to joint. All right. Pretty good. I tried to take it extra slow on that last pass, just to try and reduce any chip out. Probably not going to be able to use this stuff down here anyway, so not too worried about not getting that planed all that well. So on to the next. All right. And terrible idea with a planer. Yeah, it's a jointer, not a planer, but yeah, I'm aware it's not the safest, but I feel like I've got a little bit better control. Yeah, the plastic the plastic stick that came with the jointer it doesn't really provide any benefit to me. So jointers come with push pads, kind of like he's using, not push sticks. Those would be dangerous. Yeah. I use the pads for thinner pieces, but I only use those plastic push sticks to stir up grain or sealer. They're worthless and dangerous. Better off using hands. Yeah. I've tried using those, and those push blocks, and they are just garbage. So didn't grip the wood at all. Basically, just made it more likely that I was going to lose control of the piece and smack my hand into the cutters, and that's not really what I'm wanting to do. So I would prefer to keep my hands out of the cutters. So, but I am using the Miles Craft Grabber Pro. So it's much better than those push blocks that come with it. So it's got this rubberized foot, and so it's able to grip a lot better. Plus, it's got this little back piece that can hook on and push the piece through. So much prefer these to the push blocks that came with it. But I don't want to pay for two of these because I'm cheap. I might eventually make some other push blocks, and either use some. I've got plenty of. Well, I don't want to say plenty of used rubbers, but I've got plenty of rubber that I can use, from old tires or from, the rubber tires on my bandsaw that when I switched to urethane tires, I saved the old rubber tires. And then I could also just use sandpaper on the bottom to give me some grip. And then I can make my own little backing piece like this. For a homemade push block, but I haven't done that yet. So here's the next piece on the agenda. I'm actually going to adjust. I've been going just a 64th of an inch at a time, but I'm going to make that a 32nd of an inch, and for the first few passes, and then when I start getting closer to the to my final to flatness, then I'll reduce it back down to 32 to 1/32. So here we go. right, that's looking like one of the best boards so far. So I'm good with that one for now. Move on to the next. And let's see. You're only shaving off 64th while the piece is 1 inch thick. You're saying, yeah. Yeah, I'm doing, I had been doing just a 64th the whole time. That time I increased it to a 32nd. I'm not sure if I said it right in the moment. So I started taking off a 32nd at a time instead of 64th just to get through the first part faster. And then moved it back to a 64th for the last few passes. Rubber cork stuff would be good too. Yeah. I don't have any rubber cork though. I do have rubber. I do have sandpaper. So I'm more likely to make it out of stuff that I already have rather than buying rubber cork or something that I'm pretty sure I don't have right now. Last Breath says people are just too overcautious and paranoid sometimes. There's no way to even clip your fingernails on that machine without doing something totally stupid. I'm sure I could find a way to be totally stupid, and I think I'd really have a tough time clipping my fingernails though, because I have a nasty habit of chewing my fingernails all the time. So, that's not really that much of a risk for me, probably. All right, so here's the next one, and I'm a little surprised. I was expecting to see the pith right here, but the pith is on this board, and the cracks right here coming through. Then a small crack on the other side, but otherwise not too bad a shape. So we'll get this one going. And yeah, if you have any questions, throw it in the chat. We call it good on that. These corners are not quite there. Neither is right up here, but otherwise it's pretty smooth and starting to see some chip out and especially here on this section here. So we call it good on that board. And on to the next. We just got two more in the on the docket here for today. And then we can move on to the next step. Yeah, Bailey, good to see you. Lawrence, thanks for joining us, man. Takabo, am I saying that right? Takabo? Takabo? Lots of different ways to pronounce that. I guess the vowel sounds could be different than what I'm guessing. So, oh yeah, last breath. I like that idea. Everyone like and subscribe. Yeah, need the support. Absolutely. Appreciate y'all watching. Hope you're enjoying. And here's a look at this one before I get going. Got a big old crack through most of it. Again, got the pith of the branch. So it's just starting from the center of that pith and moving down. Also, it looks like when I cut this on the bandsaw, I didn't do a great job. So it looks like it kind of comes in right there. So up here is a lot thinner than down here. So, which is probably just as well because they've got so much crack there to remove. And my mom would be so proud of me talking about removing crack. All right. All right, I'm going to move this down. Second, lock that in, vacuum, and You know what? Whoa, sorry about that. I'm going to skip this one too. Let's go to the last board to joint for the night. Oh my, this one has a worse crack. So, yeah, that one goes through the pith and then some. That is quite the crack. So, should I even try? Let's give it a pass at least. Try at least one pass on it. And even sealing the ends, those would have split in with the pith. Yeah. Got to charge both your devices, but you're right now. Awesome, Lawrence. Thanks for subscribing. Yeah, charge devices as well, man. Charging is great. Yeah, it's taken hardly anything off at all on that setting. I'm gonna take off more, a lot more. Hopefully I don't die. Yeah, I could feel it catching a lot more there. I was expecting more tear out there, but I think I'm going to reduce how much I'm taking off at once. I didn't like how that felt. Now that it's eating, those first few passes, it was only taking off something right in the center. Now it's taking out, the whole width of the board in some sections. So I'm just going to do a 32nd for now, and then when I get a little closer to done, I'll take it down to 64th. Well, I kept going to try and get this down to as close to flat as I could, but starting to get some chip out up here. So I think I'll call it good on this board, but otherwise not too shabby. All right, so that's all the boards to joint for now, and yeah, I agree with Last Breath. Come on, folks, you like help them grow. And Matt, is that Matthew, or how do you pronounce that? Thanks for joining the chat. All right, so we are moving on to the next process here. Oh, this is my new old lathe. Did a live video about that. We've got several wood turners on the channel, and I just picked this guy up. It's from at least as far back as 1938. So got some videos coming about restoring that and getting him up and running. And here's the planer, and just adjust this tripod so hopefully you can see what's going on, and hopefully I give enough space so that the wood doesn't run into the tripod. Guess I didn't clean up as well as I thought from my last planing session with this jerry wood. Got it out of the way at least. So I don't have any dust collection set up on this planer. I do have a dust collector back here, but I don't have a hose for it. I've been meaning to get one for a while, but I still haven't done that because I'm a bit of a slacker. Bit lazy there, I guess. Like Matthew. Okay, awesome. Where are you watching from, Matthew? Yeah, Last Breath is a turner. Lots of wood and epoxy stuff. Yeah, I haven't turned anything yet, so it'll be much rougher to see what I do on the lathe versus what Last Breath and a lot of the other guys can do. Quebec, all right. I tried learning some French not too long ago, and I found that I could, I was just using like a Duolingo app, and I found that I could understand some of the spoken word. I could read some of the spoken word, but I really couldn't say much of anything that I wanted to. So I think there's probably better ways to learn to actually speak the language than the Duolingo. But maybe I'll give it another shot one of these days. So, all right. So I'm going to raise up the planer so that this wood will fit through. All right. Let's see. All right. So that's high enough that it'll go all the way through without taking anything off. So then, and obviously some of these probably are thicker than others at this point. And I'm not sure that I want to reduce the thickness to a uniform amount on all of these boards right now, because I don't know that I'm going to be using all of these boards for the same project. And so I might not want to reduce all of them to a uniform thickness. I might want to keep some of them at a thicker status. So, all right. All right, so I've got it plugged in, which is usually the first problem. Let me just see if these other boards are going to be, all right, that one's fine. This one looks like it might be thicker. Yep. All right, so let's put him to the side there and just see if there's anything thicker than him. No. Looking for the thickest slab of wood I got here. That's not it. That's not as thick. All right. And just one more board to check. It doesn't look like he'll be as thick. Oh, looks like he is thicker, at least on one side. Go through now. All right. Let's take it down to about there, and then we'll start running everything through. This will be fun. All right, I'm going to say that this one is good enough for now. Move that one on to the next step. And really, I should be running these other boards through as I'm going through these different heights. So let me see if I've already got this too low for some of this other stuff, and I do. So I'm going to raise it back up. All right. So that can go through. Okay. Okay. All right, that should be okay. Should be good. And all right. So let's see how we do here. Oh, you're just a beginner, last breath, making some pretty awesome stuff, learning everything from YouTube. Yep. What you're going to make with all that live edge cherry? You know, that is a great question. A lot of these boards, I'm planning to remove the live edges and use them for the shoe rack that I'm making for my mom. But I've got a whole bunch of other stuff over here that you know, it's not probably thick enough to be using for the for this other project. And so, or it's got, you know, lots of cracks in it. This is the one that first one that I passed on for the night. But a lot of this stuff that, you know, it's just the edges. So I don't know what I'm going to do with all of it, but I'll do something. I think I'll make some signs for some stuff. Not exactly sure what the signs will be, but, you know, I saw a sign and it opened up my mind, and I'm happy now living without something. All right, so let's start processing this through the planer. And there we go. All right, quite a bit of chip out on this last one. Seemed like quite a bit on this side, and so I reversed it, and or maybe it was on this side already, but reverse direction, and didn't really seem to do any better that way. So this will be among the thinnest pieces. So the nice thing about the planer is the mess it makes, because now I can use all that for mulch in the garden. And just cleaned some out for that very purpose earlier today. And yeah. All right, so next step in our process is on the table saw. And I'm going to unplug the planer, try to get that out of the way a little bit, and try to sweep future mulch of America out of the way a little bit. But I'm not making all of these nice wood chips into sawdust. Not that sawdust can't make nice mulch, but wood chip mulch is much more attractive than sawdust mulch. So you can call me crazy if you'd like. You wouldn't be the first, or probably the last today. All right. So let me move this over here. And let's see. Make some pretty cool river end tables. Yeah, you know, I could do something like that. Some epoxy river end tables. Sani, good to see you. Where are you watching from, Sani? Ian Towers, hello. Where are you watching from, Ian? All right, so I'm going to use a little jig to get this stuff milled on each end. Well, on one end anyway. So start with that, move this stuff out of the way. And I just want to take this whatever is my straightest and narrowest end. So probably right there. So the end of my sapwood is right here, and it bows out. So I'm just going to mark from edge of sapwood to edge of sapwood, hopefully without moving my ruler too much. Now, for those of you that were watching my live the other night, for the next step, I use double stick tape and put the board on plywood. That is not what I'm going to try right now, because one of the participants on the live the other day showed me or posted a video of a different method, and so I'm going to try his method of some hold downs. I had some old hardware laying around. I just collect things that other people probably wouldn't have any use for, but I had a couple brace pieces, but they were more angular, and so I just took out the vise and bent them so that they wouldn't dig into either the plywood or the workpiece. So the idea here is to screw these down into the plywood, and as I screw them down in, it'll apply pressure here and won't let it move around. So I do that on both sides here. Hopefully that gives me enough holding power that I won't need to use anything else. So I just need to find some screws that are not too long, but will hold. That might be my biggest issue, because I've got lots of screws, but they might be too long or not threaded well enough to hold. So let me just use these. These are some leftover screws from some gutter guard that I installed in on the house. And when I say I installed, I mean I had a gutter company come in and do it, because they were. I'm a little too scared of those heights up there. I'll tell you, seeing them bound up and down those ladders as they're shaking around, it's like, you know what? I am really glad that you are the ones going up there instead of me. But I had a lot of extra screws, and so that is what I'm going to use. So I've got some epoxy, some rare earth magnets on my impact driver and on my drill, just to hold bits or screws or whatever that I'm working with that I don't want to have to hold in my hand. But these screws don't take Phillips or Torx, so I've got to find the appropriate bit here, and I think it's that one right there. And one thing I hate about this little Ryobi bit kit is they really jammed those things in there, so it makes it pretty difficult to extract them without pliers. And like, man, I don't want to have to use another tool just to use your bits. So, all right, so I'll just try and secure this guy on there. See if this will work. Oh. It's always nice to do something for the first time being broadcast everywhere. Yeah, I've got too much of an angle on that. I think I might need to bend this guy a little bit more. Let me just try going the other direction on him. See if I can just, nope, I can't. Is this the right size? Yep. Yeah, let me just bend these a little bit more in the vise, which gives you an opportunity to see my vise in action. So let me change the angle here. So I built a little Moxon vise into the workbench. It's a design that I saw on Stumpy Nub's channel, and he was advertising a kit that you can buy from Taylor Toolworks, but I was too cheap to buy the kit, and so I just sourced the parts myself based on the parts that are in the list, in the kit, and so then so I got the Moxon vise, so it'll fit wide pieces of material. So this is I think a 2 foot wide 2x4, and then it's just connected with these threaded rods to the workbench. And so I can put work pieces in there and holds pretty well. But I've also got this other vise, and I've just attached a little 2x3, bolted that on. And so then I can just put this in and screw down the, screw those down. So then that's secure enough. And then I'll just take these guys and about halfway in, and I'll just bend them like that. And again on this one. Bend them like that. I'm pretty sure I'm not bending it like Beckham. So, Alaska Max. Hey, Alaska Max, how you doing? Are you watching from Alaska? I know it's a stretch, but could be, right? All right. So let's see if that's bent enough now to be able to attach these screws. Probably should have bent both sides of each of them, but let's see if this is good enough or if I'll need to get different screws. Maybe I just need to get different hands. All right. Okay. Well, it's a self-drilling screw. And all I was doing is boring a hole there. So I think maybe these screws are not going to work for what I want to do. Darn it. And in fact, oh, there we go. Got it out. So let me find a different screw that will actually go in and secure those hold downs. And if I can't find that, then I think I'll just use my old method of the using the tape. But let's see what I've got in here that might be long enough to work. But yeah, that's going to be too long, and I dropped it. I think I was dropping things a lot when I built that kiln. So anyone who watched that may be having some deja vu right now. All right, this guy might be, yeah, that'll work. Well, it might work. See if I've got any others that are the same or similar size. Does anyone else keep random screws that you may or may never need? Let me know in the comment how long you've been holding on to screws that may have no use for you. All right, there's a guy that might work. There's another one of those. Let's see if I can find one more. Nice if I could find two more, because then I could use the same screw head. So let's see if I've got a fourth one of those. Might be asking a little too much, but hey, that looks actually, I think these are different size. So yeah, before I drill those into my table saw, all right, so that's the same size, but these two are both too long. Maybe with the width of the plywood and here what it'd have to go through, it might not be too long. These screws might not be too long, but I don't want to risk it. So I might just be going with the double stick tape again. Let's see if these guys would even work. And these are Phillips. Just put the Phillips bit back on. That's great. Love it. So, yeah. These screws are too wide for the hole. So, in case you missed it, as soon as I started going, it starts spinning around, knocking the board out of the way. The board knocks the screws off of the table saw. So, I think that's a sign not to use the screws today. So, I'm just going to go back to my other method of using the double stick tape. So, sorry, Mike. We'll have to try your method another day. So, luckily, I've got plenty of double stick tape. So, I'm not even ready for this roll quite yet. Still have a little bit left on the last roll. So, all right. There. Hopefully you all enjoyed watching my fun with those the screws. Knew I should have tested that before I started live, but much more fun this way, right? Well, fun for you anyway. Yeah, I don't really want to pick those up right now. I should, but I won't. All right, so then I just need to line this guy up. Line the line up with the edge of the plywood. And then press it down really well. And I'm just going to align my table saw so that it is cutting right on the edge of that plywood. And then I need to raise up the saw a bit. There we go. And grab my grabber pro. And I've got the table saw hooked up to, let's see if you can see this. Got the table saw hooked up to a little shop vac and a cyclone separator. And, you know, fun little makeshift connectors there. Had to have a drink in order to, well, not a non-alcoholic drink in order to make this work. But this works pretty well, captures the dust for the most part. It's not perfect, but, you know, it does a good enough job, I think. So, and then those are all plugged into a little switch so that when my table saw powers on, so does the vacuum. So that's a nice little setup. I like it. If you want any of this stuff, you know, the cyclone separator or the switch, I think it's in the description, some affiliate links there on what I've got. So, along with a bunch of the other tools that I'm using. So, if you want to acquire anything, I think most of those are going to be listed there. All right, so we'll get going. Discard the scrap into my little scrap bucket over there, and then did pretty well on that cut. So you came pretty close to the line. So I didn't line it up quite exact, but pretty close. And now I've got a straight edge that I can use against the fence to cut the rest of it off. But I will wait to do that until after I've jointed the edges of the rest of these boards. So let's start with this guy. I think it's probably going to be safer to do this one first. So all right, go to the edge of the sapwood again. You know what? I'm not going to really be able to use as much of this over here. So I think I'm going to actually go to over here and match it up to that. So I'm not wasting as much of this wood in here. All right. And then turn that guy over. And as long as I remember not to tear off the backing and the tape at the same time, it's easy for me to remove the backing. Whoever saw me on the kiln build knows that I struggle with removing backing from tape. So bring that up there. Should have done all the way to the edge on that line, but close enough. Lock it in. And again we go. So kind of funny, the side that I should have extended further, I did just almost perfect at, and then on the other side, not so much. So let me check on the chat here. Okay. Yeah, Big Mex has 1 million screws for 20 plus years. Yeah. All this, yeah, you have all the screws but the one you need. Exactly. That is exactly the case here as well. Like 10 millimeter, always lose them. Yep. Non-alcoholic. That's some redneck engineering if I've ever seen it. Hey, you know, you got to do what you got to do, Pine. So the, you know, the beverage, I actually got this beverage right here specifically for this task. Went to the local grocery store, took my fixtures with me to see, you know, what bottles would be wide enough, but not too wide, and you know, a thick enough plastic to work with. Got that guy, brought him home, drank him. He was all right. You know, I'm not sponsored. If I were sponsored, maybe it would have tasted better. But you know, then I just used a heat gun to shrink him down to the appropriate size for that application. So, you know, redneck engineering, sure, I'm fine with that. What are the Pine, you're asking what are the plans for the slabs? Is that you asked what the planes for the slabs? Yeah, plans. Okay, good. Unless they're planes. Yeah, so I'm not planning to do any planes with these boards, but my plan right now is to use a fair amount of them to make a shoe rack for my mom to go in her living room. So I'm not sure how much I'll need for that. And then whatever else is left over, I don't really have plans for yet, but I'm sure my wife will come up with something that she wants. So I can find something to do. It's a Budweiser width. Yeah. Well, I don't drink Budweiser or any other alcoholic beverage, so I wouldn't know. All right. And yeah, good to have you here, Big Mac. I'm going to put my protection back on here and remove this guy from the jig, remove the tape, move him over here for the next process, and grab our next board and the pen, and just mark this guy. I think right about there. All right. And more double stick tape. This is really like this double stick tape. It's holds really well until you remove it from something. So it removes easily, which is nice. But if you want to reuse it for something, then it's not going to hold nearly as well. So, just grab another piece. And all right. There. And there, secure it down. And away we go. Pretty minimal waste. I like these ones that are mostly flat or mostly straight because don't feel like I'm wasting as much wood that way. But anyway, remove the tape. Put the board over here for later. And get my next one. So this one's a little bit wonky because he's wider on both ends and then narrow in the middle. And so, my God, do I really want to cut out all of this? So I think I'm going to mark on this side and then decide later how much to remove over there. All right. Yeah. Cutting off a fair amount there. But you know what? This is smoother over here, and I've got a lot more chip out over here, so I think I'm going to err on the side of saving more over here than saving more over there. Or I can't decide. I'll save this guy. Why don't you tell me in the chat whether you think I should try to salvage more of the board up here and not just worry about the middle here. So I'll set him aside for now. Tell me in the chat what you think I should do. And then I will promptly ignore you, probably. Just kidding. All right. This guy is going to be a bit on the smaller end, so we're not going to have as much usable material with him, and that's okay. But I feel like I'm probably wasting just as much of this guy as I would be with the last, because this feels like a lot of usable wood there that I'm sacrificing. So maybe it would be better to use these two as something else besides for this project. So, you know what? I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold off both of these for maybe a different project, maybe a sign, maybe something else that doesn't require me to cut out quite so much. But anyway, and probably all the rest of the boards are going to be similar. So just to bother me. And yeah, just feel like I'm cutting so much of this away. What else do I have that doesn't require me to cut as much up? I think I'll skip to those. Okay. Side. Feel like I'm cutting a lot of this guy out too, but maybe I'd be able to use something of, the offcut for something. See, which side am I cutting on? So I'm putting my tape somewhat close to the edge that I'm cutting, but I don't really want to be cutting the tape. Don't really need to be getting any adhesive on my blade that, it's probably dirty enough already. Should probably clean it sometime soon. And saying that, I put it right on the line that I wanted to cut. And if I hadn't said anything, I'm sure I would have put it somewhere just fine. But on this one, I need it to be more in the middle, because I'm cutting further over than I did on some of the others. Further over than what I really like, but oh well. All right, here we go. So this board was a little bit thicker than the other ones I've been doing, and so probably should have raised the blade height a little bit at least. But also because it's thicker, the saw was having a little bit tougher time getting through. So I got a little bit of burning right there and a lot more burning on the offcut side. Luckily, I'm not too worried about the offcut side, so I'll just throw that in the offcut bucket. Where I'm putting all of the cherry wood offcuts for now. And on to the next one. So I'll just check up on, see if I need to address anything in chat here. And flip it over. Those limbs from the cherry tree or the trunk. Yeah, most of these are, I think all of them are actually from the limbs, not from the trunk. The person that, the friend that I got these from, they were not cutting down the cherry tree yet. They might cut it down in the future. And I said, hey, if and when you do, I'd be interested in the wood. And I'd even be willing to help cut it down. But as of yet, I have not heard anything on the trunk. Just the just the just the limb so far. So, all right. Let's see. Okay. Oh, I just screwed up my my view there. All right. I think this is probably the last one that I'm going to mill up for now. I'm going to hold off on these other two and the other ones that I mentioned earlier, just to make sure that there isn't some other some other sneeze or some other project that I want to use them for. So all right. Didn't really mark that all that well, but oh well. You know what? I might not even need the other roll of tape. I might be able to make it through with this one. But I want to go on the other opposite side here. But of course, because I said that, it doesn't want to go the full length of the board. So that should be enough. Hold it, I would think. And garbage. All right. Place this guy there and right about there. Turn down. And we're back, I hope. Hey everybody, sorry about that hiccup. Forgot to hook up my auxiliary battery, and so we've got things going though. All right, so let me see if this is in frame. All right, we got the mostly empty kiln behind me, or behind the table saw. So I've repositioned everything so I can have the camera hooked up to the fast charging port, and we'll just finish up the table saw cuts here. All right, I left off. I just cut this, and I was marveling at you know, that didn't really have much in the way of burn, but I didn't quite line it up as well as I wanted, but just a little bit of sapwood there and on that corner. So just remove that from the jig, which we don't need anymore. Take the top off. And now we've got a straight edge on each of these boards. And so we can use those straight edges to run against the fence, and cut off what we want. So I'm going to mark them again. This time I want to see what is the narrowest section. And I think it's probably going to be right there. But test it. So, and I'll just mark that. Oops, if I have the pen out. But I can pretty much see where that sapwood is anyway, so that mark isn't as pivotal as for some. And then I'll just adjust my fence so that I'm right in line there. Lock that in. Feels like I need to, lock the brakes on the table saw again because I moved it. So it's a mobile table saw cart. Got a couple videos talking about how I built it. So if you're interested in doing something similar, you can watch those videos. Just got one more brake over here to engage. There we go. All right. So that feels like it's lined up pretty well. And make sure that's lined up. Yep. So this is adjustable. Both of these parts are adjustable. So I just want to make sure that they're not going to be I don't want to run these over the blade. So just like to test before I cut anything. All right, we're ready to go. And then here's the completed board. So it's been jointed, it's been planed, and then we jointed the edge on the table saw and then cut the other edge also on the table saw. So that should be parallel and square. So on to the next board. And anyone who's tuning in, appreciate you joining. If you like what you're seeing, please hit the like button. If you don't like what you're seeing, well, get better taste, I guess. Let's see. Let me know what do you think so far in the chat. And again, I'm just looking for the narrowest part of the board. It does not include sapwood, so I think it's going to be right there. So I'm going to mark that on our end. I keep taking keep clicking the pen so that I don't have ink when I think I've got ink. So, all right, so now I need to adjust my fence. Lock the fence in and make the cut. sapwood there, but not the worst in the world. The worst thing in the world. So I'll just put that over there with the rest of the completed stuff, and on to the next. There where the very first part, nope. So right there. So basically just don't really need to mark it because I can see the sapwood, which means I'll probably adjust this one the worst. Huh. It's actually pretty close where it is now, but lock it in. Let's see. Well, I think I'm just going to cut it there, even though, yeah, because I'm maybe not going to be able to use this over here anyway, so I'll just treat that as the narrowest part. Pretty clean cut on that one. It was a thinner board, so maybe it was a little easier to make it a thinner cut, or make it an easier cut. Maybe it was an easier cut because it was so thin. Words and how to use them sometimes. Alright, so how much of this is really going to be usable? That. You know, I think I'm just going to call it there. Actually, I want to push it from this side. So, let's see if I can. Yeah, that's going to be tough to mark. But it's close to the edge of that, so I'm just going to nick a little bit of that and call it good. So one blade's width worth, one curve width. That's it. I'm really good with words. All right. Making that cut, I thought it was struggling a lot more than maybe it was, but did get some burning on the offcut, but just a tiny little burning on the workpiece there. And then, yeah, got a chunk remaining there, but you know, all of this is usable. So, all right, I think that's it for what we're cutting up tonight. So, I'm gonna save these boards to do another day. Possibly making something different with these, maybe some signs, something that makes it so I don't have to cut off quite as much of the nice looking wood. And in the live chat earlier, people were talking about you know, using a live edge for something, so haven't really done that too much, so that might be a project to do. So I'm gonna stack this back in here with this stuff that I previously jointed and planed. Hopefully that keeps it flat, and then I'll deal with the other stuff later. All right, so thank you all for joining us on this live stream, just playing around with cherry wood. And this is Pilato Creations, and if you've enjoyed the stream, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We do woodworking, we do garage projects, we do lots of things that my wife wants done. So I wouldn't say I'm an expert in any of those things, but we usually find a way to get things done anyway. So love to see you like the video, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day or a great night, I guess, depending on where you're at.